Hello, everyone. I am Kelsey Woodworth, Content Marketing Manager here at GiveSmart, and we want to welcome all of you fabulous fundraisers for joining us today. So today is the 10th episode in our Outside the Room fundraising series, and we hope that with these series we can continue to inspire each other in the art of the possible and in learning from each other and from our peers. So we are joined today by Amanda Fitzgerald, the Director of Development at Crossnore School and Children's Home, based out of North Carolina. And we are also joined by GiveSmart's Susanna Crawford, our Community Manager, and Stephanie Hahn, who is a Customer Success Manager. So they're both experienced fundraisers in their own right, both in and outside of GiveSmart. And so thank you, ladies, for all being here today.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so just before we get started, a few housekeeping items. In the chat, you will see that we posted some resources, and those will be relevant throughout the presentation today. They are campaign links, they are other resources, they're upcoming events with GiveSmart, they're blogs. So feel free to have a look at those, and no matter where you are in your fundraising journey, these resources can definitely help you accelerate your impact and further your cause. And so also, I want to note that today's webinar will be recorded. We'll be sending that out later tonight. And we ask that you please fill out the survey that we have at the very end. This helps us better curate our webinars to your interests and needs and things you want to see from us in the future. So with that, let's kick off with a quick pulse check on how everyone is feeling. So with this poll, as it stands today on August 13th, how confident are you that you will reach your fundraising goals this year? Not so hot, you're getting there, or you're going to hit it for sure, or you may even surpass it. So while everybody everybody weighs in on the poll, Amanda, if you could please share us just kind of a high level of your mission at Crossnore.
Absolutely, thank you. Crossnore School and Children's Home is a child welfare organization in North Carolina. We provide housing and supportive services to children in the foster care system, as well as supportive services for kids with emotional and behavioral health issues. Our mission statement is to grow healthy futures for kids and families by providing a Christian sanctuary of hope and healing.
Okay, great. Well, an important place indeed. So let's see what the poll results show. And Stephanie, you are on the data side of things and you are working with clients all the time at GiveSmart. So what do you make of this data?
Kelsey, the numbers are great right now, and they're kind of falling in line with the trend we've been seeing over the past few months. The not so hot category continues to track down from where we started, which is great. And it's good to see that the numbers are continuing to track towards a more positive fundraising outlook and environment for this year, especially considering that back in March, that feeling of uncertainty and kind of trending in these unknown waters made fundraising a little daunting. So it's really nice to see that these are continuing to trend towards a positive.
Yeah, totally. I agree. So things are still kind of weird, but at least we are getting there. So with the agenda today, we're going to be covering how Amanda and Crossnore pivoted to an online store with their strawberry sale, and how, when that seemed impossible, obviously with in-person things being down, and how their campaigns kept people engaged. We will also end with a news section highlighting 2 other organizations that had ideas about how you can run with today. So I have asked our panelists to stay on also at the end for about 15 minutes for Q&A. And so as we go, you guys will see it on the right-hand side of your screen. You can submit questions through the chat section. And so don't hesitate to send those as we go. So strawberries for sale. Susanna, can you walk us through Crossnore's story and elements?
Absolutely, I'm happy to. First of all, thanks Amanda so much for being here. So excited to walk through this with you. So when Crossnore first came to our eye, one, we were impressed with strawberries, but also the unique online store concept that they did. So Amanda, can you first just kind of tell us a little bit about how your strawberry sales came to be, the challenges that you faced this year, and what were the responses that you got from what you did?
Absolutely. So one of the campuses that Crossnore has is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and it's a 212-acre campus, which includes a large urban farm. And one of the things that Crossnore has done for years is to grow strawberries that we sell to the community. It's always very much anticipated. We have a phone number that's called our strawberry hotline that people begin to call in anticipation of the strawberry season to find out what's going on. Folks from the neighboring retirement community line up early in the morning to make sure they get their fresh strawberries, and families traditionally bring their children when we have U-Pick, and they take baskets out into the field, and kids pick one strawberry and eat one strawberry, basically. But obviously, looking at the situation this year with the pandemic, we knew that we were going to have to do things differently. Our campus was actually closed to outside visitors because we're a residential campus where kids live in cottages, and we needed to do the utmost we could to keep our kids safe and to keep from getting the virus on our campus. So we knew we were going to struggle with how to make this work. But we were ready. Strawberries were blooming, so we had to come up with a plan. And so I went into GiveSmart. I thought, I wonder if I could do an instant item, if that would work. And we could pre-sell some so that we know for sure we have some strawberries sold, and we can work out a new system for pickup. And so I created some instant items, and I was my first test customer, and it seemed like it worked. And we got the word out, and were sold out. I think within 4 days, our pre-orders were all sold out.
That is such a great story. I love that you were just like, let's see if this works. Let's go forward. So with that said, can you tell us a little bit about how you set this store up, what it took to kind of do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just used the instant item and then the instant item feature. And then for each day that we anticipated picking strawberries, I set up a quantity that could be pre-ordered. And then we had all those customers' information so that when we ran into inclement weather here, we had some monsoon-like weather for about 10 days in North Carolina, and we had to keep shifting people's pickup dates. We were able, luckily, to identify who had a pickup that day and to send them a message through GiveSmart to let them know that we were going to have to push their pickup day. So it was a really easy way for us to have a known quantity of berries sold and to be able to communicate with those customers when we had to shift. And then, day one that we opened up and had a new pickup system for berries, we realized that combining our pre-orders with our first come, first serve was kind of a big disaster. And so picking days 2 and beyond, we separated those two lines so that the pickup orders could come in, grab their order and leave, and didn't have to wait in line with the other folks. So that ended up being a big win for us too, to be able to get the pre-order folks in and out really quickly.
Fantastic. I love all of that information. I think that's super great takeaways. And I'm curious too. So from the development side, I've been there. And how did you kind of work on the back end? I don't know. Do you do the strawberry picking yourself? How did you guys work as a team in the back end to kind of do the store and the logistics of these different parts of it?
So that's a great question. We had some internal restructuring. And I was pretty brand new with the organization when I found out that my department was going to be overseeing strawberry sales. And I have no background in farming. My community relations person had previously helped with strawberries, so she knew something, but still she wasn't a farmer. So we worked side by side with our facilities team, and then we actually collaborated with another nonprofit, Burmese women who have a farm on our property, and they ended up being most of our pickers. Now, I will say on day one, we had a little bit of a scare with our pickers, and they were not able to show up. So we ended up having to enlist some of the teens on our campus to help us pick. We bribed them with an hourly rate and breakfast from McDonald's, and they came out and worked really hard and saved the day. Yeah, so it was, it was a collaborative effort, but one that we were kind of just crossing our fingers the whole time that it was going to work. And then when, COVID came in, we thought, oh, wow, this is another challenge. But all in all, being able to utilize this site really helped, and being able to kind of, learn as we went and make adjustments so that we could make the experience a little bit better for our customers.
Fantastic. It sounds like you guys did a great job as a team getting it together. And on this slide, we talk about transaction fees. And curious, you guys made it so that the purchasers on your online store took on those fees of the transaction fees. And that's a question that we get a lot. Do organizations do this, and how do they make that decision? So could you tell us a little bit about the background here and why you decided to move forward, and what reactions did you get from your purchasers?
Sure, absolutely. So typically we sell berries by the quart and gallon size. This year we decided for ease we were going to do gallon size only, and a gallon of strawberries would normally sell for between $12 and $14. But we decided in our new no contact method of selling strawberries that we wanted to make it easy. We didn't want to have to deal with change, giving people change, that you had to have exact change only. So for those folks who were ordering online and had both the privilege of being able to pay by credit card, which first-come customers were not able to pay by credit card, as well as being guaranteed that you were going to get strawberries, that we felt like passing along those credit card fees was reasonable. And I would say I think it's becoming more prevalent that people understand that there is sometimes an upcharge when you choose to pay by credit card, and not a single person said a word about the transaction fees. So in other settings, we've sort of made it optional, and we've had folks who have chosen to take the transaction fee as part of their donation. But in this case, it was mandatory, and nobody said a word.
Great. I think that's a huge saver for a lot of people. So appreciate your thoughts and feedback on how that went for you. And in this slide, we could see some of the social media you posted out. First of all, this strawberry cheesecake is amazing. I love showing this. And on the left side, in the comments, I'm not sure if people can read it, but someone says, oh, are they back open? And the response is, yes, check out their website for pre-order. So curious if you can talk about a little bit of the communication that went behind this. How did you promote your store? And how did the word spread for this pre-order option?
Yeah, we weren't sure if it was going to work or not, or if this was going to fall flat on its face. We put up a social media post that directed people to a page on our website, our berry page that's up only seasonally. And on that page, we described the new method for pickup, and then a link through to the pre-order process. And we didn't email anybody. We didn't take out any paid advertising. It was just a single social media post that got it started. And then people who went through the pre-order process would forward that information to friends of theirs. And, I remember watching the first day when the sales started, trickling in, and then all of the sudden, boom. I'm not even sure if it was 4 days that we were sold out. So it may have been 3. So people definitely, if they knew their friends were big strawberry lovers, or if they knew their friends were previous customers of ours, then people were forwarding the information. So it took very little on our part to get it going. And then people, it's just so sweet to see people, posting after they've picked up their berries, or posting pictures of their, recipes that they've made. Lots and lots of that going on in the community. And whereas in years past, it would be sweet little pictures of kids with strawberry all over their face. This year, a little bit different, but still very sweet, and I think, brought our community together in a nice way, that everybody had a little bit of normalcy and a little bit of sort of strawberry goodness for a feel-good moment in a time when people were feeling kind of low.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. It's a very sweet story that you have. I love it. It's so good to have some normalcy here. And so this is kind of a best practice question for you. So you guys had the logistics behind the pick, right? So people pre-ordered, they came, they bought, and you kind of mentioned that you had 2 different pickup lines for that. But can you tell about the challenges that came with that? And do you have any tips or advice for people who are doing maybe an online auction or a store where they have to have people come pick up those items?
Yeah, it was interesting that first day because we had the challenge of our professional pickers not showing up, and then we were open at 10 a.m. and people started lining up, no joke, at 8 a.m. And so we had a line of 50 plus cars before 10 a.m. And within that line, we just hadn't really thought it through, were all these pre-order people. So we had some people who had pre-ordered who needlessly had to sit in line for a couple hours. So that was obviously a fail on our part, and we remedied it the next picking day, where we had those 2 lines separated. Because we had everyone's contact information and easily able to sort that information, we were able to, make those adjustments. So I really liked it, and I will advocate that we use it again, absolutely.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing. So from here, we're going to jump into some engagement tools that you guys did.
Yeah, sorry, I was on double mute there, but we love that story and strawberries in the summer. And so but before we kind of go on, I just wanted to pause here because a question at GiveSmart that we often get is, how do we attract donors and users to any campaign? And sort of with Crossnore School and Children's has come up with some creative ideas, and we are so grateful that they are willing to share. So for Susanna and Amanda, can you guys walk us through some of the tools that were used for the Crossnore campaign?
Yeah, thanks, Kelsey. So we're going to walk into the next campaign that Crossnore did. This is the Daughters American Revolution Challenge. First of all, Amanda, would you walk us through what is your relationship here with them? And then again, the challenges that you faced due to 2020 and how you kept everyone engaged through that.
Sure. So our campus in the mountains of North Carolina. It's in Crossnore, North Carolina, Avery County, North Carolina, in the Appalachian Mountains, is a 100-plus-year-old organization. And the woman who founded Crossnore, it was actually originally founded as a girls' school. She was a medical missionary who went up into the mountains, and her goal was to provide medical care and education for the kids there. And she herself was a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So our relationship with the DAR is over 100 years old. And typically, we travel to the DAR Continental Congress, which is their big annual event, and we bring with us products from our weaving room. We have a traditional Appalachian weaving room in our campus in the mountains, where women work on looms and hand weave these different items of weaving. And that's usually a great opportunity for us not only to sell weaving to members of the DAR who are there, but also to engage with them, to meet with anybody new who may not know about us and educate them, to have people sign up to be donors and sponsors of ours. And because of the current pandemic, their event, their Continental Congress, had to go online this year. So that meant we weren't going to be traveling with them, and we were not going to be able to sell weaving in person. And that's usually a pretty big money maker for our weaving room, usually between $15,000 and $20,000. So we were missing out on that piece because of it going virtual, and also missing out on the opportunity to engage with DAR members personally. So that's kind of what we were looking at, and that's why we came up with this DAR challenge that we put together literally at the last minute. We just had to pivot and came up with this idea and thought, we'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
I love that. It's the perfect way, right? Let's do something. And you've mentioned to me the promotion about this with social media and then also direct messaging. And here we have an example of an email that you wrote that asked people to, continue on this engagement and to send it to other people. How did this kind of peer-to-peer campaign work out for you, and what were some of the benefits and challenges here?
Sure. So, you would think that perhaps we could reach out to the national organization and say to them, hey, we've got this neat opportunity for your members, and could you let them know? But they are not able to do that. They're not able to sort of prefer one organization over another. So we have maybe 100 individuals in our database who we know are DAR members. And we reached out to those 100 people to let them know. And again, this was literally the last minute. I think it was the same day or possibly 24 hours before Continental Congress began, to let them know about this opportunity and to ask them to share it with their chapter members and friends who are DAR members. And we absolutely got some traction that way, because we had 15 new donors as part of this campaign. People who had never given to us before, were not on our mailing list previously. So 15 new contacts that arose because of this, and that was absolutely a peer-to-peer effort.
That's amazing. Again, going with expanding your reach through different types of campaigns and people hearing it from people they already trust. We're hearing it over and over again, what a benefit that is. And here's another engagement tool you guys did, a chapter incentive. So tell me a little bit about what this is and what were the results from creating this kind of challenge here.
So the idea behind it was that naturally DAR chapters sort of compete against one another. They get different levels of points, I think, from the national organization. And so they're always competing for different types of recognition from the national organization. And so we thought this might be a healthy way to promote some competition between chapters. And we had 2 chapters with multiple donations who were clearly vying for top contributor. I think, if we had done this earlier, if we had allowed people a couple of weeks before all the activity of Continental Congress, it would have been even more successful. But, we were up against a tight timeline, and, for that reason, I think the message didn't go as widely as it might have otherwise. So this is something I definitely think we'll do in the future. I think it's a great way to engage with people. And my guess is that even if they have Continental Congress in person next year, I'm going to guess they start implementing a virtual component anyway for those members who aren't able to travel. So this will be just a nice way for us to continue to engage with these longtime supporters of ours.
Fantastic. It's all about engagement, isn't it? And that's perfect. And a question that we always get going on that is, how do we get people to donate? How do we attract new donors? How do we continue that engagement? And so you actually had 3 different unique ways of incentives that you offered for donors. So can you kind of quickly tell me about the 3 of these, and then what type of result this brought for you guys?
Sure. So we decided on a raffle format for this, and it was for every $10 that someone donated, they received 1 entry into a drawing to win a DAR-themed piece of weaving. And then for anybody who chose to make a monthly donation, a recurring monthly donation, they were entered into a second drawing that was for a piece of centennial patterned weaving. That was a one-of-a-kind piece. And then we continued the engagement with these donors by offering a daily drawing. So they were small gift items, note cards or coffee and mugs, but that enabled us to continue to promote this on social media, which was a nice way to keep engaged. And people who had entered were very, very invested in what the daily drawing was and who won the grand prize. And then the third thing we did was to offer a coupon code for everyone, and then a special coupon code for those who donated. And one of the neat things about the special coupon code was that our weaving room told us they had many calls and online orders where people used their coupon codes, but they actually even had people call and say, I have this coupon code, but I'm not going to use it because I want all my money to go toward Crossnore and the weaving room. So that was kind of neat.
That's so great. I really feel like people are generous right now, and just being able to give them something else that they can even do after by going to your store just gives them another thing to do to support you guys. Genius. And kind of moving away from the DAR campaign here, talking about giving societies. It's not something we've spoken about on these webinars, but I think it's something that a lot of people are doing or interested in doing, we're hearing. So you guys actually have 4 giving societies. Could you quickly kind of tell me, what is a giving society overview? And then what are the benefits that come to you as well as the donors? How does this work?
Yeah, absolutely. So giving societies are just ways to sort of group donors to recognize them for their contribution to the organization. And so, we have one that is dedicated to those who have made a planned gift. That's our Martha Guy Society. Sloop Society is for people who have a lifetime giving of $100,000 or more. Hope Society is an annual giving society for those who donate $1,000 or more. And then Circle of Friends is our monthly giving program, and the one that we're really pushing and that we push particularly with our DAR friends. And that is because your monthly donors end up being sometimes your most engaged donors, the people who feel most invested in you because they've chosen to make either, a recurring credit card donation or bank draft or even to mail in a monthly check, but they've made that commitment. And, I think the statistics on monthly giving societies is that over their lifetime, they end up being your largest givers in any case. And so the Circle of Friends in particular is a neat way to recognize those donors who give as little as $5 a month, or perhaps as much as $500 or more a month. And one of the things we do to recognize all of our societies is to have a recognition event every year, which is no sales pitch, no donation ask. It is simply an event to recognize your donors and to thank them for what they've done for you. This year, unfortunately, that'll have to be virtual, but we're kind of excited about what we've put together. We've got our CEO who will present for what we're calling the Happy Half Hour, and we will also have some of our recent graduates who will appear on our virtual Happy Half Hour and talk about their success and how support of our donors has really enabled them to chart a successful path in life. So we're excited about that. One thing we're looking to implement for the coming year is impact reports for each of our societies so that we're able to speak to those donors very specifically about the impact that they themselves have had on the organization. I think that'll be a nice way, instead of just sort of sending, here's the impact of all of our donors in the aggregate, to really break it up and say, hey, Circle of Friends members, this is the impact you've had on our organization and on our kids this year.
Love it. I mean, I'm hearing you're doing direct impact for people, you're doing recognition for people, you're really creating this community within each society, which is just a fantastic way to keep people engaged. So thanks so much for sharing all of that, Amanda.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. I love the idea of sending impact reports directly to specific groups, because I think, like, if I'm in a giving society with my friends, to be able to see that, just the change that a smaller group has made is really impactful. So thank you. And Amanda, we'll give you a break now. And so we're going to do something different that we haven't been doing on these weekly webinars, and over to Susanna and Stephanie. So could you guys walk us through these next few online store examples and provide us with some insight on how any organization really can take these ideas and get started today?
Yes, so happy to. So huge shout out here to Cannon High School for letting us share from Los Angeles. What they've done here is so cool. They've created these masks with their logo on it, selling for $10 each, that you can pick up. Very simple idea. And Stephanie, you're talking to organizations all day, every day. And I'm curious, is this something that you would encourage all of your organizations that you work with to do, and why?
Absolutely. This is such an easy setup on the site. You're looking at 30 minutes and ready to share. In a time when organizations are constantly asking, is it okay to fundraise? This is a perfect example of fundraising that ties into the current events. In addition to being just relevant, this is also a great way to create exposure and organization awareness outside of the normal donation ask fundraising.
Definitely. I could see going to a grocery store, having my mask on, and someone asking me, hey, what's that logo? And just being able to talk about that as an advocate, such a great idea. Great. We'll go into the next one here. So this is from the Florida Panthers Foundation. What they've done is they sold t-shirts, 2 different types, $25 each, very straightforward. And to even entice people more to this campaign, they offered a 50-50 raffle. So the winner takes half with a 50-50 raffle, and it's just a straightforward campaign, and this is all it was. But Stephanie, I'm going to deep dive a little bit here and say that an organization is doing a campaign like this, and not like Amanda with the the pickup logistics. Can you talk a little bit about shipping, online stores, and how you get those materials out to people? What makes this campaign so special and what they did?
Sure. This is a question that gets asked quite often. A lot of organizations, especially in this current climate, are wanting to fundraise, and they want to reach broader audiences than local. So many are adding shipping costs onto their online stores. The key thing here is that the user experience is still easy. This campaign is great because they added it onto their order form. Donors were able to add the shipping while purchasing the t-shirt. They were very clear that the shipping fee was required a single time. And then while selling online, this is helpful because they're able to collect addresses in the process, so there's less admin work to follow up on. And additionally, with online stores, the credit card information is collected for those stores. So if you had to, an organization could add on shipping fees. Best practice is to contact the purchaser first, but it is always a possibility.
Perfect. I mean, anyone can do this. This is fantastic. Thanks for your help, Stephanie.
No problem.
Okay. And so with that, Susanna, now you get a brief break, and continuing on with the data, over to you, Stephanie, on some points that we have recently seen.
Perfect. Thank you. Here in this graph, we focused on July a little bit more year over year in terms of two areas that we kind of discussed with Crossnore. They did a great job with donations and instant buys. With the data here on the graph, you can see that that top line, we saw an 11% increase in terms of money generated by instant buys, and then a 250% increase on that bottom line in money generated by donations. We're seeing the trend continue to increase working with organizations daily. I'm seeing elements of in-person events slowly go down while instant buy items and donations are increasing, especially when the guest experience is made very simple. All right, perfect, thank you. And so building kind of on the comments above with the previous slide there, and I wanted to see kind of how July performed year over year for the past 3 years to see how things are tracking. We are still seeing increases in the number of bids placed and the number of donors bidding. If you look at the top right, we continued to see increase with bidding, and the bottom left with the donating. We saw both a rise in the number of donors and the number of donations placed. No real surprise, but a 76% year over year lift in the number of donations received, and even more so, a 212% increase in the number of donors providing a donation. We're finding, like Crossnore, adding a donation element packaged with a raffle or an additional auction item creates additional engagement, which is proving to help increase donations.
Okay, those are all really excellent points, Stephanie. Thank you. And before we open up for Q&A, just a quick reminder on our upcoming webinars. Next week we'll have episode 11 with the First T Delaware, and they're going to talk about some innovative things that they have done the last few months. And our August monthly webinar is going to be on the 26th, centered around champion fundraising. And as part of our growing GiveSmart community, Susanna will be hosting roundtable discussions in the coming weeks. And so these are small groups where fundraisers are just simply sharing what's worked, what hasn't, and they're getting ideas from each other. And so these have been really great, haven't they, Susanna?
Yes, I absolutely love getting to connect with you guys, hear from you, what's working, what's not, connect with each other, share resources and insights. There'll be more information in the follow-up email after this. I really hope to talk to each of you guys then, get to meet you.
Yeah, great. Okay, and with that question, so we do have some questions that have come in. If you have not already submitted any questions, please feel free to do those and we will address those. Okay, so let's see. First one is either for Susanna or Stephanie. What other types of peer-to-peer campaigns can we run using GiveSmart, and what are you seeing work these days?
Stephanie, you want to take that one? I think you're in it every day.
Sure. Some other peer-to-peer type campaigns that we're seeing running is simply using the the champions feature as far as walk, run competitions, different fundraising aspects that are outside of the normal just asking. Those are a lot of what we're seeing, though, is those walk runs as well as the instant stores.
Okay, cool. And for Amanda, previously you mentioned the virtual happy half hour. So during that virtual happy half hour, how are you collecting donations?
So the Happy Half Hour is not a fundraising initiative. That's a recognition initiative. So for that, we're inviting all of our society members as a thank you. But frequently, the last time we had a recognition event, we had a couple of our donors come up and slip checks in pockets. So it's possible that after our recognition event, we will also see some donations from those same donors. It's just a way to say thank you and stay engaged with those donors.
Okay, nice. And just sort of, this actually kind of ties into the next question, Amanda. So do you find that donors are more engaged throughout the year because you do these different types of campaigns?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. You know, in particular, you know, strawberry season, we saw people who, you know, weren't getting out very much, but we saw them in the drive-through line for strawberries, sometimes multiple times throughout the season. And so I do think any time that you have an extra interaction or you know, touch on that donor, even if you're behind a mask and they're behind a mask in your car waving at them, I think it absolutely creates a stronger connection with that donor, and you know, sometimes turns into a lifelong loyalty.
Yeah. Well, it certainly makes sense. And Amanda, another question for you with your online sales. What were, it doesn't have to be exact, but just kind of, you know, a general idea of what were your overhead costs, and then what were the needs there for staff and volunteers for pickup?
That is a great question. So if we're talking about strawberry season, you know, that's obviously got a lot of setup. And one of the things that I learned getting thrown into overseeing this is that strawberry season actually starts the September before you sell strawberries. So we are looking at next month planting strawberry plants for the next season. So if we're talking about overhead costs for our entire strawberry season, they're pretty significant. I think it's $14,000 or $15,000 is probably about what our costs are. And this year a little higher because we had to, you know, we had to hire out for pickers and whatnot. For the DAR challenge, our overhead costs were almost nothing. You know, whatever the cost is for the weaving, and the small prizes that, you know, are fair market value at $30. What I think was really nice about both of these campaigns is that, you know, the strawberry campaign, for example, if nobody had purchased pre-orders, we still would have been fine. There was no cost there to set it up, no cost for anything. And then my staff was the one who were the ones who were, you know, manning the strawberry cart. For the DAR challenge, similarly, if nobody had participated, we had zero cost. So that's kind of what I think is neat about this, is that you can, if you're a subscriber, you can just throw it out there, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And whereas a virtual, you know, an event, an actual event, a gala, you've got a ton of setup costs, and you know, oftentimes we feel like we've put more time and money into that than necessarily we get in return. So these were both very easy and, you know, zero cost to set up, other than obviously the strawberry plants and labor.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Susanna, I have a question for you. Like the Canyon High School, how do I get masks to sell online?
Good question. I think through the promotion, right? So you can set it up online and then being able to promote it. So through your regular donor database, you can always send things through GiveSmart or through the platform that you're sending it on. But really just the promotions that you would normally do. But being able to customize that communication to be sensitive to the times is, easier with a mask that it might be for just a donation campaign. So being able to just be specific, ask for advocacy, and promote it out there and see what kind of response, like you said, just like Amanda said.
Yeah, and I think things like with that too, there are vendors that you can look up as well. And so moving on, Susanna, another question about instant items. You had recommended instant buy items here, and so what do I do if I don't have a brand name that people will support? What are some instant buys that I can sell?
It's a great idea. Great question. I've seen all different types of things. I've seen, masks, which we would get through a vendor of sorts. But I've seen like signs, like people are putting signs in their front yard. That was a huge one. Bows, anything that can kind of show that advocacy out there. But I've also seen just like pint glasses or just things that you can have at home. Anything that people can do at home right now, use at home. All of that kind of stuff is flying off the virtual shelves as of right now. So that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely a good suggestion. And for Amanda, a similar kind of question is, how are instant items different than selling merchandise or something similar to that?
Well, I suppose it's not terribly different. For us, we actually do have an online store where we sell weaving and we sell kids' art note cards and whatnot. But for our purposes for the strawberry sales, I just felt like using our website was going to be too clunky. I don't have access to the back end and the ability to generate sort of, aggregate reports or to sort things that would come in through our store, because I definitely did think about that as an option. But with using GiveSmart and the instant buy item, you get to set the quantity that you want to sell. And in this case, we were very conservative about what we pre-sold just because we didn't want to disappoint our first come, first serve customers, because we didn't want to be in a situation where we couldn't fulfill orders. And so I was able to set the quantity. That was a discussion with my team, what number we wanted to pick. And then when it sells out, it sells out. And the site puts up that it's sold and shows people what's available. So for me to be able to have it all there together, only strawberries, not scarves and hats and mugs and whatnot, just strawberries, and to be able to focus on those sales as well as the instructions that we had for folks on how pickup was going to look very, very different. And all of that was in one spot for them. So that was the reason for me that I chose to use GiveSmart and the instant item feature rather than to try to put it through our online store.
Got it. And a lot of questions still coming in related to this topic. How large of a staff do you need to make this so successful, this being your strawberry sales?
The strawberry sales? Well, yeah, as I said, it was a team effort. So we do have facility staff that helped with, plowing the fields and getting the fields ready. I will tell you that one night I got a panic text from my community relations director saying there's a freeze tonight and we don't have anybody to cover the strawberries. So I said to my 4 children, put your forks down, dinner's over, we're headed out to Crossnore to go cover some strawberries. And I will tell you, they thought that was a bait and switch. They said to me afterwards, we thought it was like one plant, not what ended up being 3 acres or an acre and a half maybe of strawberries. It's not a fun task. So anyway, we had some volunteers. We had people, coming together if they, on our residential staff, if they were off shift, they sort of enjoyed the interaction. So on any given day for sales, we probably had 5 or 6 pickers and probably 2 traffic people and 2 to 3 people handling sales.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that insight and sort of the involuntary helpers as well for your kids, but necessary, it sounds like. So, okay, we just have one final question for you, Amanda. And what is the next fundraiser that you'll be running?
Well, we actually have 2 golf tournaments coming up, and we use GiveSmart for that as well. Typically, our golf tournament in the mountains happens in the spring, but that was postponed because of the pandemic, and so that will take place in September. And then we have a second golf tournament here in Winston-Salem area that will happen in October. So those are our next 2 big fundraisers. We've used GiveSmart previously for the golf fundraiser, and it works beautifully. It's absolutely perfect. I added an extra field where you can, where participants sign up so that you can put the whole number, so that when you're generating those lists, you can have that information all filled in for you. To keep things neat and clean. And then we also added to the site as instant buy items mulligans that people purchase, and split. They can also participate in the split the pot that way as well. And I think this year I added one sponsorship option on the site as well. So those are our next couple fundraisers, and I'm grateful to have the software to use, because prior to my tenure, we were doing all this on paper.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah,
so it does sound a little bit of a load lifted there.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us and answering all of these questions today. And thank you to Susanna and Stephanie as well. If you guys submitted questions and we didn't get to them, don't worry, we will follow up with you individually so you do get the answers to those questions. And that is all. And thank you to everyone who joined today, and have a great rest of your day.